Hi, it's Dad Learns Daily. This is the week roundup that we had for the midweek games. So let's get straight into it. And what a week of football we've just had. We start on Monday evening, where Leeds beat Man United in their own backyard 2-1 to put Leeds 6 points ahead of Spurs that sit in 18th and that only have 30 points. Moving on to Tuesday evening, we had the Champions League quarterfinals in the second leg where Atletico beat Atletico progress after a blockbuster 2-1 win in Madrid against Barcelona to win an aggregate 3-2. Liverpool lose again at Anfield against PSG over two legs, and that's for over a 4-0 win over two legs. In the same day we had the Championship, two games in the Championship. We had Portsmouth that played against Kieran McKenna's Ipswich at Fratton Park in Portsmouth, and they scored twice in 3 minutes to win the game. Southampton extended the win streak to 7 games, beating Blackburn in Southampton. Now on Wednesday we had the Champions League's second set of games, and in my opinion we probably had the best game of the season that I've ever seen, especially this season, where Bayern Munich hosted Real Madrid in Munich, and this game had everything. It had end-to-end action, goals, and a controversial red card. The game finished 4-3. And it ended 6-4 on aggregate. Now this sets up a Hollywood semi-final of PSG and Bayern Munich. Now that has to be a fantastic semi-final to watch, and I can only imagine what both legs are going to be like, especially in Munich. Now on the other end of this hill, we have probably the most lackluster game that I've probably seen in a while, where Chelsea drew against Sporting, and I have to admit it was a snooze fest. Now, coming from a big Arsenal fan, I can't believe that it. I mean, I can understand it, but at the same time, I was expecting a little bit more. I was expecting a little bit more drive, especially after the games we had before, giving us a little bit of driving force going into the weekend game against City. But we can't really say anything else. At least we got through, and obviously that's going to set up a semi-final against Atletico Madrid. Now I wonder if we can. I wonder if we can do what we did last time against Real Madrid, and as we did beat them earlier in the season. So hopefully we can do the same again. On Thursday, we had Europa League and Conference League games. These were in the second leg of the quarterfinals also. And we got treated to some amazing games to arrange some amazing semi-finals. To start off, we had the early kickoff of Celta Vigo, and they actually lost to inform Freiburg in Spain, 3-1. I believe Celta Vigo got a consolation goal right at the end, and they actually lost 6-1 on aggregate. Aston Villa hosted Bologna at Villa Park, and they absolutely battered them 4-0. Ended 7-0 on aggregate. Nottingham Forest scraped through with a 1-0 win at the Forest ground. It was actually quite nice to see that the Forest team came together to put through a heartfelt tribute for Elliot Anderson, as his mum tragically passed away earlier that day also. So that was very nice to see. But the game of the night in the Europa League has to be Real Betis losing at home 4-2 to Braga, for Braga to win 5-3 on aggregate. I saw the highlights of this game, didn't see the actual game, but for Real Betis to go ahead and then obviously lose on the day 4-2, that was just, I couldn't believe it. Now that does set up semi-finals of Braga against Freiburg and the Forest against Villa. Now we do have a obviously Conference League, And AZ Alkmaar, they drew to Shakhtar Donetsk 2-2, as Shakhtar Donetsk progressed to the semi-finals, winning 6-2, as they did win 3-0 at home. Now AEK Athens won on the night also, but they failed to progress to the next round, as Real Vallecano actually won a 3-0 at home, and then that means it was 4-3 on aggregate. So that will be, I think that's the first time in their history they've got through to a European semi-final. I need to double check that, but I think that is the case. Now, Fiorentina actually beat Crystal Palace 2-1 in Italy, but they don't make the semi-finals, as Crystal Palace won at a Selhurst Park 3-0, meaning that for the Eagles progress to the first semi-final, first European semi-final in their history, winning 4-2 on aggregate. Also, we've got Strasbourg beating the Germans Mainz 4-0 on the night, as tempers flare in France, and as the French team go through 4-2 on aggregate. The semi-finals for that are Shakhtar Donetsk against Crystal Palace, and then Real Vallecano host Strasbourg in Germany. Now, that's the weekly games. Going on to the weekend, we start off with a massive game that was on tonight, and that sees Coventry actually being promoted to the top level of English football, drawing 1-1 to Blackburn, but that's them promoted for the first time in 25 years. So it's nice to see Frank Lampard's absolutely stellar performance as their manager, and it will be amazing to see Coventry back in the top level of English football. Now, the weekend has some amazing games, starting off with the early kickoff tomorrow afternoon, with Brentford hosting Fulham at a local London derby at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Now, I personally think Brentford will win this, because they do have a good amount of they've got a good run in. They've had some amazing games as they had before, but they're sitting 7th right now. So they've got a good amount of driving force going into this game. Now, going into 3 o'clock kickoffs, you've got Leeds against Wolves. I think Leeds all day will win this, especially being at home. They're on a good run, and especially with the win that they had last time, especially being at home, I think that Leeds will get an easy win, especially against Wolverhampton. Newcastle also host Bournemouth at St James's Park. This is going to be a draw, I believe. Newcastle need to save the season, but Bournemouth have just come off a win against Arsenal. So, I mean, you've got two teams that are in relatively good form. Arsenal, obviously, Bournemouth won against Arsenal in a stellar performance at the Emirates. So, yeah, I think this will be a very interesting game, but I can see this being a draw. Now, there's 2 early kickoffs. There's 2 late kickers, apologies. There's Spurs that host Brighton. Now, it's a very controversial take here, but I don't see Spurs winning another game. They've got another 6 games going, but I really don't see them winning another game. So I think it's probably going to be Brighton come down to White Hart Lane and winning. It might not be a convincing win, but like I said, I don't see any other outcome right now. And then we go to the Chelsea pensioners. Obviously, Chelsea are at home to Man United. I don't know. It's like the Red Devils are being tame also. 2 teams that lived up and have such a history that are just a shadow of the former self. And especially after last performance they had, I think this game's going to be personally an awful watch. It's not going to say that I'm not going to watch it, because it's two massive names, but I don't see this going any other way than a draw or a very, very boring win. I don't know who could do it, but yeah. As we go into the other games that are on Saturday, we have obviously Championship games, and I'm just going to go through this and what my predictions would be. Now, Derby host Oxford. I think Derby win this all day long. We've got Millwall that play QPR at the Den. Yeah, I believe Millwall should win this just due to the current form right now. Obviously, they're sitting quite high in the table. But they've not been able to win the last 2 games, but still I think that's still a massive sort of thing for Millwall that I think should do this. Now Portsmouth are at Fratton Park and they play against Leicester. And now after obviously the 2 massive wins for Portsmouth, I think Portsmouth will win this. Leicester obviously are not in a good position right now, but I still think it's going to be a easy win for Portsmouth. Hull City play at home against Birmingham. Now this could go one or two ways. I don't see Birmingham losing this game. So I think it could either be a draw or it could be a win for Birmingham. I don't think Hull are strong enough to take all 3 points against Birmingham. But when it comes to the game, like I said, it could go one or two ways in my opinion. You've got Preston North End that are playing against West Brom. Now, obviously, West Brom recently just lost a financial conduct. So I think team morale is going to be very low. I think they're in the process of appealing that, but I also think they've also lost points. I need to just double check that, but I think that is the case. And I think team morale will be very low at this point. And I actually think Preston will probably win this game. Already relegated Sheffield Wednesday actually play against Charlton, and with everything that's going on against Sheffield Wednesday, I think Charlton win this all day long. And Southampton, I think they'll extend their win streak to 8 as they play Swansea in Wales, I believe. Now, when we come to the last game of the day in the Championship, we've got Wrexham against Stoke. Now, Wrexham were on such a streak. They were on such a sort of I keep using the word driving force, but they were on sort of a mindset that were sort of okay. Let's keep winning. Let's keep that morale high. And they've had a couple of results that have not gone their way. I think when it comes to the game against Stoke City, I think this will be a hard-fought game. And I think it will probably be a draw. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens tomorrow. Now, going into Sunday, we've got a couple of early kickoffs for the Sunday games before, obviously, the big game that I think will be the title decider. Now, what the first couple of early kickoffs is the Villa against Sunderland. Sunderland had a great win against Tottenham the other week, and Villa obviously got that good result against Bologna. And I think the momentum that Villa have got right now is too strong, and they're chasing that Champions League. So, and Sunderland are safe for this season. So I think this will probably be a Villa win. I think that I can't really see them dropping points, especially against Sunderland. We've also got the Merseyside derby tomorrow, so it's the first derby for Liverpool and Everton at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. It's a tough one to predict. Obviously, we've got Liverpool that have just come off that loss against PSG, but with the Everton sort of support they've got, especially at home, I think I see Everton winning this one just because of the sheer amount of support they'll have. And I don't think Liverpool have got that mindset to go into that, and I don't think they've got any momentum. I think Klopp wants to just get this season over and done with, and he can just go from there. Forest are at the City Ground. They host relegation-bound Burnley. I like Scott Parker. I think he's a good manager, but I don't think he's going to go any further with what's going on. I think it will be a relegation bound, and I think it's going to be another loss from this weekend. Now we get onto the big game of the weekend, which is obviously City hosting title leaders, league leaders Arsenal. Now, whatever happens in this game, I think whoever wins this game will win the league. Obviously, me being an Arsenal fan, I would love it to be Arsenal, but that's the problem. We are really not in the mindset. We've really not got the momentum. We've got a couple of injuries. From what I'm hearing now, Saka won't start, and Wright is not 100%. We're also waiting for Madueke to give us. We also don't even know if Madueke is going to start. So this could be. I really hope not, but we could get walked over by City. I don't want it to. We've obviously, if we win this, we could go to still having 6 points ahead with them having a game in hand, which would be massive, absolutely huge. But when it comes to this, I don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see. We'll just have to hope, fingers crossed, that we can get the result. If we do get a result, I think it'll be a lucky result. I think it'll probably be maybe a goal or two. But yeah, if not, then I think we'll probably get absolutely steamrolled by City. Like I said, I really hope not. I'll be working, but I'll keep tabs on the game. It's also Scottish Cup weekend, so it's semi-final weekend in the Scottish Cup. You've got Dunfermline Athletic against a Falkirk, and that both games will be at Hampden. I think Falkirk will proceed to the final, and on Sunday you've got Celtic that have got an easy trip to Hampden that plays St Mirren. Now, when it comes to this game, I can just see Celtic setting up a final against Falkirk. I think the team and Martin O'Neill will just be like, look, okay, this is the time to get the silverware. When it comes to silverware, I actually think this will be Celtic's only opportunity for silverware this season. I don't think they're going to be getting the league, even though obviously the last game of the season is going to be against Hearts. I don't think so. I think the title is only going to be between Rangers and Hearts. Really, realistically, they've not been strong enough this season. They've had obviously the problems that they had with their manager Nancy, and then obviously all that problems with that. So I think this season for the league, I think it's not going to go Celtic's way. But this is why I want to hear from you. Obviously, I've given you just a brief overview of what I think and predict what I think for the weekend. But I want to hear from what you have got to say, because I'm very interested, because obviously there's so many different fans out there. I've covered such many different teams. So you tell me what you think. I'm more than happy to listen to what you have to say. I might be an Arsenal fan, but I'm not going to be biased. I just generally think this is what my opinion is. But thank you anyway for watching. My name has been Dad Learns Daily, and what we'll do is I will see you in the next video, where we will actually be sanding down those chairs that I showed you in the reel, and we will be starting to upcycle those. But yeah, thank you again for watching. If you would like the video, please subscribe, please like the video, and please give me your opinions on what I was saying. Thank you again for your time. See you soon. Bye bye.